My name is Garland Thompson, and I live here in the Monterey area. I am a poet, I'm an actor, a writer, playwright, a director, producer, basically all things theater, all things entertainment. I'm also a filmmaker. I'm currently with the Salinas Public Library in Salinas, California, and I'm their resident filmmaker, as well as a program manager, a technical consultant, and the Digital Arts Lab advisor. Over the last 3.5 years, I've come into contact with a lot of the community in Salinas, whether it be people and community members from the east side of Salinas, what's known as the Alisal. I've spent a lot of time working over there, whether it be different parts of Salinas, North Salinas, South Salinas. I work with the city staff, so I've gotten to know them pretty well. And I also work here in Monterey. I'm formerly the Pacific Grove Poet Laureate for 2007-2008. And I'm known for producing poetry slams in the area and poetry events, as well as doing workshops and teaching kids about poetry and occasionally drama classes. It's a very interesting situation in the county in general, but certainly in Salinas and for the kids here in Monterey. In this county, it's tough for young people because there isn't as many opportunities as one might think for them to get out, express themselves, for them to explore various talents that they might have. And in fact, like a good portion of the students in our public education system, a lot of them don't get encouraged to do anything out of the box, as they say. Their creativity is not pushed as much as it could be, or as it should be. So one of the cool things about working at the library is that with the director that came in about 4 years ago, Elizabeth Martinez, she has made it clear that the library is not just a passive place for people to come to, where you passively receive information and then you go on about your business. The library is actually a major part of the community, and it is a major hub and can be a major hub for not only information gathering and researching, but also for people who are looking for jobs, also for kids, but also for a place for people to come and create things. For example, we created the Digital Arts Lab. We got a grant of some $25,000 about 3.5 years ago to establish the Digital Arts Lab at John Steinbeck Library, which is basically a lab that has several Macintosh computers along with professional video editing software, music creation software, website creation software. And it's a place where anybody, but especially teenagers, can come, and kids of all ages actually, can come and learn about digital technology, learn about creating websites, learn about how to make music, learn about how to make a movie. I just watched, as a matter of fact, on YouTube, the Teen Filmmaking Workshop's latest project. And it is a fantastic little 4.5-minute, 5-minute movie, a great little buddy story of a couple of kids who grow up together and they make a childhood pact, and and they go around and we see them, and it's very funny. And these are from kids who've never made a film before. I watched this movie just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I was laughing the entire time. It was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. And again, it was made by kids who had never, ever made a movie before in their lives. All they'd ever done was spent time watching movies or watching television. But that shows you the kind of creativity and the kind of talent that's there, that they can, from simply watching examples of filmmaking and television work, simply watching that, of storylines being created and unfolding, that they could then turn it around, and when they were given some instruction on how to use the actual technology, that they could turn around and make a project themselves, make an actual film from start to finish with a beginning, a middle, and end, something that's quite enjoyable to watch. So that's the kind of thing we're trying to do at the library. That's the kind of opportunity we're trying to provide at the library. Certainly for the kids in Salinas, but basically for anybody that's in the county. In King City, South County, and other parts of the county, it's a very similar situation. There's not a lot of job opportunity. There's not a lot of opportunities for expression or creativity. There's just not a lot to do. And the schools, because they're forced to teach to certain standards, and because of just the whole way it's set up right now, the schools, for whatever reasons, aren't pushing them into creative opportunities, or aren't providing enough of those creative opportunities for them. So the library, we've tried our best to step into that role and be a real part of the community in that way. For me personally, I cannot overstate the importance of art in the community, of art in the world. And in fact, it's funny, as I was just thinking about this recently, it actually is rather annoying to me where arts and culture is placed in the hierarchy of things, if you will. For example, if you look in the newspaper, the New York Times, for example, and you look in their list of sections, you look for arts and entertainment. Where are you going to find that arts and entertainment section? Towards the bottom of the list. Right? Same thing when it comes to funding in schools or governments or communities funding artistic expression and artistic endeavors. When it comes time, things are getting tight, we don't have enough revenue coming in, things are in trouble, what are we going to cut? Let's cut the arts. Because it's looked at as a frivolous thing, as something that, no, compared to bread and butter, compared to gas for the car, compared to tuition for kids' school, arts and entertainment, it doesn't match up to that, so no problem, first thing to go. But see, this is wrong. This is fundamentally a totally, completely wrong idea. The arts teach people, whether they be children or adults, they teach people various things, such as teamwork. How do you work together? Such as problem solving. I've got something that I want to do. I've got an idea that I want to portray. How do I go about portraying that idea? So it teaches you critical thinking skills, which is something that is sorely lacking today in our public education system. It teaches people how to, I hate using the term, but for lack of a better one, to think outside the box, to come up with other solutions. And these same techniques that they use to, say, produce a play or create a video or a film or a piece of music, those same techniques, those same tools are the exact same ones that can be used in building the community and in strengthening the community. Those are the exact same tools that government leaders can use, because if they're able to have critical thinking skills, they're able to be creative, they're able to see different possibilities instead of just be stuck on the same old possibility that has been done over and over and over again with no success whatsoever. Well, then they're going to have that much more ability to help solve whatever problems or crises might be happening at any given time. Well, for instance, Poetry Slam, the format itself. Some people have had issues with it over time, saying, poetry is not a competitive event, this is not a sporting event or anything like that. You can't judge poetry the way you judge ice skating in the Olympics. But see, this is where, I completely differ, and I go, no, that's not correct. That's not correct, because you can do it. And in fact, I've seen people go from having never ever expressed themselves in any way, shape, or form publicly to writing a poem, getting out there and expressing it, and I've watched entire lives change. For example, a few years ago I was teaching, I got asked to come to a charter school in Pacific Grove to talk to a 7th grade class and work with them for a couple of days doing poetry and doing poetry. Specifically, they wanted to do a poetry slam. So I came in and I did that, and I worked for the first day with them, and I worked with them on various, how do you express yourself, getting up in front of a crowd, speaking, and that kind of thing. And then the next day we started to get into the contest, right? So now in the contest, basically you can do 3 things. You can either be an audience member, you can either be a slammer, or you can be a judge. 3 things that the kids can do. Well, so you had your kids who were audience, you had your kids who were judges, and then you had your kids who wanted to sign up to slam. One of the kids who signed up to slam was a kid that was very introverted. He didn't talk a lot, had this kind of mop-top haircut that he was always hiding behind. I'm told he never, ever smiled. And in fact, when I spoke to his mother a few weeks later, she informed me that they were actually a little bit worried about him because his brother and sister were very popular, very extroverted. They were sports stars and that kind of thing, and they were getting out there, and he was not. Well, he got up to slam, and he had this poem that he'd written, and he was very nervous, and you could see the paper was shaking and the whole thing. But he read it. He got through it. He read it, and he read it well. And at the end of that, the whole classroom erupted into this huge burst of applause for him. I mean, the love that came forth from his fellow students and his fellow classmates for him getting up there and taking the chance and expressing himself, the love that came forward was just, it was like a tidal wave of love, and everybody was smiling and laughing. And as a matter of fact, kids were yelling out, "Quick, somebody get a camera, get some proof, we need proof, he's smiling," right? So from that moment on, and again, I found this out because I spoke to his mother sometime later. From that moment on, every day he was writing poems. Just stuff started just pouring out of him. And he was running down, his mother told me, he'd become running downstairs and say, Mom, you gotta hear this, I just wrote this. And it totally flipped the script on his life, and it gave him a voice. He found his voice. He found his means of expression. For his brother, it was sports. For his sister, it was being popular in various other things and being very smart. For him, he hadn't found that thing, but once he found it, he just exploded. And it was like the most incredible transformation to watch. And it was like instantaneous. The voice, the human voice, is such an incredible thing, and I don't mean just everyday speaking. We a lot of us take it for granted, where we're just kind of everyday talking, going about our business. But to be able to express yourself and to feel that you have the ability to do that in such a way that it will actually reach out to somebody else and touch somebody else is such a powerful thing. It is a great, great power that one can have with their voice, that by telling their own story, by letting the world know some of the things that they've gone through as they've been dealing with their own life and their own trials and tribulations, they are not alone. And they can be connected to the rest of the world and to the rest of humanity. And other people can connect to them, and other people can take heart and take hope and know that they are not alone. I'm definitely a profound believer in the idea that if people are not allowed to express themselves, you're headed for trouble. Sooner or later, there's going to be some kind of breakdown in the person's life, and it's going to usually be a painful one, and it's usually going to affect a lot of other people around them, and not in a positive way. We're seeing this right now with all the Occupy Wall Street protests, for example. People who feel they have not been able to be heard or have not been able to express themselves, express this growing frustration that they've had with what's going on with the inequities between the classes, finally finding their voice, getting together and realizing that no, we can be heard, we can do something. And as you can see, look around and you see the power that's happening. 2 months down the road, the entire world has been set alight by them. There's protests all over the world, people expressing themselves, people getting out there. And the thing about art, the one thing that's really great about art when it comes to expressing yourself and to giving someone a voice is that it's a positive voice. Because you can express yourselves in ways that don't include art, right? And we see that with suicide bombers. We see that with people running in and shooting up their former workplaces. We see that. So there's that negative way, but that's the easy way out. That's the easy way out. Anybody can pick up a rock and throw it through a glass window. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to do that. But to articulate your thoughts and articulate your frustrations, articulate your feelings using words, using art, using music, using images, using photographs, using culture, to reach out and touch somebody else, and as well as to understand what's going on inside your own skin, there's no better way to do it than through arts and entertainment, through arts and culture. And that is really one of the most important reasons why I think arts and entertainment is very, very important to us. Okay. I'm here at MOM, and I'm very impressed because I see all the work that's gone on here, and I see such a great possibility for MOM to do some of the things that the library is attempting to do in Salinas, to do with the kids here and the community here in this area, and not just focused in Monterey, but to stretch it out to the whole county. And there are definitely ways I think that the library can collaborate with the museum. And I really hope that we can establish a good working relationship and can establish some cross-cultural collaboration, because I think it'd be one of the things that's problematic here in our personal area, our particular area, is that you've got Salinas and you've got Monterey, and there's that thing they call the lettuce curtain. And hopefully MOM and the library can get together to maybe part that lettuce curtain and let some of the cool stuff come through.